So we started this conversation yesterday. We started with Professor Kwame Gyan, who's senior lecturer, who's a senior law lecturer at University of Ghana Law School and former legal consultant to the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, as well as Timothy Anyidoho, who's acting Greater Accra Regional Lands Officer, Lands Commission. And we said we're going to continue today with a focus on you, giving us a call and asking all the questions, but also with a focus on the solutions. How do we deal with this once and for all? Kwame Gyan, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. I gave you my word that I will be back.
Sure, and indeed, you're back.
I was
Timothy,
here on time.
I love that. You're always on time. Timothy Anyidoho couldn't join us in studio, so he's joined us on phone. Tim, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. Hello, Tim. Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Great. Great, we can hear
Timo,
you.
good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Sorry, a small national assignment, as I explained yesterday, has carried me away a little.
No problem. So, Tim, let me start off with you and let's focus on how we can deal with this. Okay, so we've looked at the causes of all of it. We've recognized that, even sometimes dispute over lands and everything, double sale would lead to people resorting to the use of these guards. Sometimes also is greed. They just want to cheat. So they use these guards, chase you away from your land, and then they take over the land. How do we deal with this once and for all? What can be done, Tim? Yes, go ahead.
Well, yesterday we started this conversation, and I think that extensively we understood what the problem is. So one, for instance, if that customary landholder has a correct record of what he owns, gives exactly what he has, and doesn't engage in double sales, even if he does do so, he's prosecuted and dealt with for that, then it means that the problem of the tussle between the parties is being dealt with. One. Two, we are looking at these able-bodied, strong men who may not have maybe engaged in productive activity, who may find this a short route to making money or making wealth because they don't feel the consequences is there. Three, we have read the Land Act and we've seen the extensive punishment that is there. In fact, yesterday, Senior Kwame again drew our attention to the Vigilante Act, Act 999 of 2019, where landguardism is stated along with other factors such as political factors and grouped in the same category. And in all that, you find out that if there are stiff punishment, 10 to 15 years, 5 to 15 years, so if the laws would bite the way we believe it should, if we will ensure that prosecutions are followed through. However, in all these conversations, mind you, that landguardism doesn't stand alone as a wrong or a crime as stands alone. So yesterday we explained, assuming he goes in, he's given bail, for instance, by the court, he's back, and he's there misbehaving, then he's further threatening other people's lives. So it is the entire gamut of the laws, both the legal Lands Commission and I believe Land Administration itself. If it improves and people are sure that they can submit their documents, as the law is saying, within 90 days, they know whether we are proceeding or not. The court matters in the courts are dealt with expeditiously so that it doesn't take forever to deal with one matter, so that once the matter is in the air, people can keep tussling on the ground. I believe that little by little, things will be dealt with.
Now, yesterday, Kwame Gyan made a point about the fact that, look, even the boundaries of lands, particularly the big landowners, Teshi, Nungwa, Osu, La, in itself is a problem. Now, that challenge, how do we deal with it?
So if I'll refer you again to the Land Act in Section 182. And Senior Kwame again tried to direct us that this is a very good book. It is the implementation that we must look at. Because in the consultation processes for this law, this was identified as one of the major problems of disputes in this country. And its antecedents are, I remember when we were doing the land administration project phase, project 1 or 2, there was a traditional area which was selected for boundary demarcation of customary boundaries. 90% of the work was done. A small area of 10%, there was disagreement. We could never were able to complete that work. Each party took a strong stand. In Act 1036, Section 182, the law provides that the Lands Commission, except expressly stating so, must ensure that the big land holdings are registered before the smaller bits in it. This is going to force traditional areas to begin to discuss or begin to talk to each other. Look, let us sort our boundaries out. Once that begins to happen, I think little by little we can have the bases registered so that the little ones on top can be registered. If you freeze registration in areas and say, look, sort yourself out, I wouldn't register, it will be a drawback to people who invest in that place. And therefore, maybe it will force traditional areas to come and resolve them.
Well, finally, before you go, the challenge is sort yourself out, we will not register, but others may be willing to buy. And, in these cases, people buy and use guards to protect the land.
Yes, so if you use the guard, for instance, and as we discussed, it is dealt with, you go and use on what we call the force of a landguard, and more, that guy goes to jail for 5 to 15 years. If you engage somebody else, are you sure the person will come? No, the person won't come. And that person who harassed you is going to jail and will not be here in the next 15 years. But if that person is let loose by the law, by the courts, or the person is never prosecuted, then that is going to leave that person running room freely to be able to harass people as they do.
Timothy Anyidoho, thank you very, very much for joining us. We're grateful.
Thank you very much.
And Timothy Anyidoho is Acting Greater Accra Regional Lands Officer of the Lands Commission, consultant to the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, in studio with us. And already lots of you have started sending your messages. One that caught our attention this morning that says, my name is Ahmed. I listened to your program yesterday on the issue of landguards. My wife bought 7 plots in Kaswa Millennium City, and some people encroached on it. So we took the matter to court and got judgment last year, together with demolition order, so that we could demolish anything on the land. But for a whole year now, we're unable to do so because both the police and the assembly are refusing to help us to do so because they are afraid of one person called Alaji, who is protecting the land for the encroachers. And this guy operates from where? Somewhere within PAR. Now, though I'm in Manchester now, but all the documents are with my son in Ghana. If you want to see them, the police has it, and the District Assembly is taking over some money from us, yet nothing. They've taken about 100,000, that's about 1 billion old cedis from us, but nothing has been done for us. Please help, because the encroachers are still building and have even erected a wall around the 7 plots. Kwame Gyan, he secured a judgment. He needs the police and the assembly to help him get his land. That's what he says in this message. But still, the people are defying the court order, and they've even walled the land and are building. I want us to look at one thing.
But the message had something else that you have ignored. He said the police and the assembly are enabled to act.
Yeah.
Because, according to them, they are afraid of one man called Kwesi Alaji.
Yes, that's Alaji. Yes, that's what I talk about. Yes.
He's called Kwesi Alaji.
Yeah.
I know him.
Oh, you know him?
Yes.
Who's he?
Yesterday, I told you. Those of us who are involved in the land sector, some of the law enforcement, possibly some of the politicians, the neighborhood people, traditional landowners, real estate people. We know the landguards. We know where even Kwesi Alaji, he has an office somewhere along the Caswell Road.
Oh.
Yes, not far away from Sapato filling station. I mean, he's a public man. He even holds a traditional office position in Gomwafete.
I see.
So that's why I'm telling you, these guys are not on the moon. They are here.
But why is it difficult for us to
now,
stop
look,
him?
if you could see Alaji, he's like my size. So even one police recruit can carry him on his back. The man's size and my size are the same. I mean,
so why
that's
the
why
difficulty?
yesterday I gave you a biblical quotation that it is our decision not to do anything. When you decide to do nothing, nothing happens. He is someone who walks freely without arms. I mean, if you see him, you won't even notice that this is the Kwasi Alhaji. But he wields influence. So Winston, the way the problem is being discussed, for me, it doesn't surprise me and it doesn't scare me. Because I have been associated with this system, this land system, for the last 25 years.
Okay.
That's all I do. That's what I teach. I speak about it. Sometime like 2-3 years ago, I decided not to talk about land anymore because I've been talking, and what has come out of it?
Okay. So let's look at one thing and what this would mean. So you've talked about now this man takes a case to court.
He has a court order.
He has a court order.
Under normal circumstances, when you get a judgment in court,
Yeah.
in a land case, standard, one of the reliefs you would seek from the judge is a declaration of title, recovery of possession. And then you file a process to be given the right to take back your land. Then you write to the secretary, the judicial secretary, through the court registrar. They will give you a letter or a letter to the police with copies of the order of the court attached, requesting for police assistance for you to be able to enforce the judgment of the court.
Sure.
Under normal circumstances, if enforcement may not entail violence, they could just use the bailiffs, the sheriff, the court sheriff, to go and enforce. But where there's the potential for violence, you go through the police, and they are required by law to provide the support on the demand or the request of the court registrar through the judicial secretary. But what he says is, the police, and that's what he is saying, and the assembly are saying they are afraid. The assembly does not have a direct role in enforcing a judgment. What the assembly could have done is to use the planning laws to stop the development. You see, the whole system is collapsing because the entities that have the mandate to do right are not doing right. So the assembly, look, if you look at our constitution, Article 267, Clause 3, it says there shall be no disposition of stool land in this country unless the Regional Lands Commission of the region where the land is located has certified that the purposes or the use to which the land will be put would be consistent with an approved planning scheme.
Sure.
Approved by the district planning authority. So you see the linkage in Article 2673 between land ownership, land use, and planning, as well as land registration.
Yeah. Are we doing that?
If we were doing it, that person wouldn't have been building the wall around that land. What permits do they have?
So let's look at the solution from these points. Let's look at it from 1, even the Lands Commission, 2, from the law enforcement agencies, 3, from the judiciary, 4, from us, the individuals, and maybe other, offices of state that can play a role. Let's look at it.
So once we are talking about the court, let's look at the judiciary.
Sure.
They are, by our constitutional setup, the final arbiter between two people, between persons and the state, and between state agencies. So when they make a final pronouncement on rights, it's supposed to be final.
Sure.
And will be enforced. many years back when we worked at the Ministry of Lands, we found that there were plenty of land cases which were clogging the court system. The system was choking from the load of land cases. So we did two things. We pushed for the establishment of these purpose-built land courts.
Okay.
So that was the beginning of the land courts. And then funds were made available through the World Bank for the backlog of cases to be cleared. So judges were sitting during vacations and extra hours to clear the backlog. So a lot of the cases were cleared. So we thought that the pipes had choked and we had cleared the cases.
Okay.
But the number of cases that were being filed on a daily basis led to additional backlogging of the system. So, yes, the land courts are working. They are all across the country. In Accra, there are more than 10, 15 land courts dedicated for land cases. But how many cases are filed every day? It's not easy. So the system may end up being clogged again. But one proposal that we can apply to help push the settlements of land cases is the design of specific rules for handling land cases.
Okay.
There are now rules for commercial cases, which are aimed at expediting the expeditious delivery or disposal of commercial cases. It's about time that we set up a system of rules of court for handling land cases. Winston, let me tell you something. You could have a land case that will travel all the way to the Supreme Court. It takes years. And that case could have been resolved just by a survey, a simple survey. Because the people are contending. My plot is there, your plot is not there. Sometimes there is a survey error, which is not through the fault of any of the contestants.
Okay.
So just a simple survey could end up solving the problem. Now, most of the time, when cases are going through the court process and a survey has to be ordered, most of the judges would order the director of survey, which is the head of the survey and mapping division of the Lands Commission, to conduct the survey. I have seen instances where some judges have directed that the survey should be conducted by private surveyors. I think more and more private surveyors should be used.
Okay.
So, because if it's only or predominantly the government surveyors who have to determine or do composite plans to help judges, and given their own workload, the cases are stalling. Maybe we should rely more on the private surveyors.
Okay. So that's for the judiciary.
For the judiciary. And the police must also support the judiciary when it comes to the law enforcement part.
Okay.
Like the situation that we have now. Unfortunately, the police also will have their own issues, because when you submit a judgment to them, they may also want to be sure that indeed this judgment is genuine. Because somebody could just carry a document and purport to be coming from the judicial secretary for the police to go and enforce a certain judgment. So they also have to look at, but how long should they take? And do we have an interagency body which would peruse these requests and quickly advise? Because the police will also have to rely on their own internal legal departments. Or should they go to the Attorney General? How many lawyers at the AGs are free to offer the police such advice? You know, Winston, so it's not just as simple, but we can properly plan.
Sure.
You know, I've been saying to my students that the best doctors are the ones who are able to do the best diagnosis. Because once you have done the diagnosis, you can walk to a pharmacy shop and get appropriate medication.
Sure.
It is when the diagnosis fails that we get into even worse problems. So I think on the judicial side, that's their role. Expediting land cases and ensuring the enforcement of their own judgments. But after they have delivered the judgment, in the law, we say they become functus officio.
Which is?
When it's like a spent bullet.
Okay.
The judge has declared your rights. He has given you the power to go and take your land back. The judge has completed his work. He becomes functus officio.
Okay.
The other things have to be done by other people.
Including the law enforcement.
Including the law enforcement.
So we've looked at the judicial.
So that's the judicial. Now let's go to the land sector.
Yes, let's look at the land sector.
Timo started the morning with an introduction to boundary demarcation.
Yeah.
Subsequent to your question.
Yes.
And he mentioned that indeed we started to do the boundary demarcations. In several of the meetings, the target landowners themselves fought us.
Why?
They don't want the boundaries to be demarcated.
Really?
Yes. You think they're happy that confusion and conflict will go away?
How does that help them?
Because the uncertainties and the conflicts most of these landowners feed on. We had a meeting or two or more at the Institute of Local Government Studies in Medina.
Okay.
With all the large Gyan landowners. I tried. They will not agree. And you cannot just go and establish the boundary with only one party. If you want to establish the boundary between Teshi and La, you cannot just carry La people and La people will show you the boundary and you take it that this is the boundary. The Teshi people must also be there.
Yeah.
And if the Teshi people say they won't come, and that for them they don't have any boundary with La, or that they don't have any dispute with them, it means you cannot do the exercise.
Yeah.
And that's what stalled that exercise. So we need to go back to the process of systematic boundary demarcation. These boundaries must be demarcated and pillared so everybody knows where the lines are. And then they will be registered in accordance with section 182, like Timo was telling you.
Okay.
If you don't demarcate the boundaries, how would you register them?
So how do we compel them to sit down?
Now that you have legislation requiring the boundaries to be demarcated, section 117 of the Land Act says, without local plans, if you want to register land at the Lands Commission, that land must be in conformity with existing local plans, which must be done by the assemblies.
Okay.
So Lands Commission can decide to refuse your document, not to register your document because it conflicts with section 117. Once Lands Commission starts to bite, you will see some changes happening. Because you submit the document, they will write to you that your document is coming from Gasouth. There is no local plan supporting your document. So go back to your assembly and to your landowner. The landowner is supposed to collaborate with the assembly to prepare the local plan.
Okay.
But all these lands are going through. The registrations are going through. There are no local plans.
So it means the Lands Commission itself has a lot of work to do.
They do have a lot of work. The assemblies also have to do a lot of work. And the landowner also has to do a lot of work. And the public education, what we are doing now, to let people know that under our law, when there is no local plan, land cannot be allocated. It comes back to enforcing our laws. Not just using the police, but the state and para-state institutions must be seen and manifestly seen to be working.
I see. How about us, the individuals, the citizens? What must we do?
We, the citizens, must be prudent in our dealings with land.
Okay.
It's basic in acquiring anything, even if you are buying tomatoes. The principle is caveat emptor, which means, in ordinary English, let the buyer beware. If you are going to the market to buy or acquire land, learn what has to be done, the do's and don'ts. Learn the do's and don'ts. There are things you shouldn't do. in relation to land.
Okay.
For example, if you go to a place and you see broken walls, you pay money to somebody when you saw broken walls all over the place. Mm-hmm. What should he tell you if you are a prudent purchaser?
There's been some demolition.
There are problems there.
Yeah.
And I always tell my clients, if you go to a place and there is some very nice land which appears to be idle, run away from it. You know, it's like you go to a village, Winston, you go to a village because you have a nice beard. You see some very nice woman in the village and you think this is too good to be true. Is what I'm seeing the real situation? You think you are the only nice man who has ever visited. Mm-hmm. Maybe that woman is the betrothed to a goddess, a god in the town.
Yeah.
You see, so we individuals should be on a proper lookout. You check the records at the Lands Commission, you check on the ground, go to the assembly. You have a local plan for this area. If not, go back and tell your prospective landlord that I will not want this place. Sometimes we behave as if we don't get that particular plot of land, all land is gone. There's no land left.
You know what, Lawyer Kwame Gyan, we're going to do something. We're going to go for a break. When we return after the break, we'll be activating the phone lines because we promised our listeners yesterday that we're going to give them a chance to call in and ask all their questions.
Your morning radio.
So let's get on to the phone lines now. And we'll pick the first 5 calls and then we'll get Lawyer Kwame Gyan to address them. We have Kwabena joining us from Dansoman. Good morning, Kwabena.
Good morning, Winston. How are you?
Kwabena, I'm fine. I believe you're fine too.
Yes. I just wanted to ask about those 5 landguards who were killed. Mm-hmm. And there is a controversy as to whether they are true landguards or not. But I understand some of them fled. Among those 5 killed, some fled, some were wounded. What are those ones? Have they availed themselves to any person or somewhere to know that really they are not landguards?
Okay, well, there'll be an inquiry into it, so we'll keep you posted on that. I mean, Parliament is going to investigate that, so we'll keep you posted. Thank you very much, Kwabena, for joining us. Daniel is at airports. Daniel, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Winston.
Yes, Daniel.
So I think one of the problems which I identify has to do with the would-be landowners or the buyers. Some seem too desperate when they see the land. So then they are ready to part away with money as soon as they see a land. But if you are a bit cautious and you think you have the money, you just have to negotiate with them and tell them, if I don't get a site plan to do the search, I'm not paying. And if they also need that much money, they will quickly give you the site plan. You do the search, and then if you are okay, then you start looking at even a payment plan. After the search revealing that everything is okay, you decide that, okay, I'm giving you 30%. Give me the indenture, let me lodge it, and then I'll give the rest. But most of the buyers are too eager to part away with money. That is where they fall victim to this landguardism and then double sale of land.
All right. Thank you very much, Daniel, from airport. We'll stay at airport because Nanajo has joined us from airport. Nanajo, good morning.
Good morning. Okay, so my issue is, I have purchased a plot of land around the Imesa area.
Okay.
And that place is noted for one landguard called Gomashi, who, I don't know, to the best of my knowledge, he's been sponsored by someone top there. Because I've been to the police station up and down from regionals to headquarters, and this man is still working as a free man there. And he's not even able to produce one document to show that, okay, this land I'm guarding or is for so-and-so person. I have on several occasions insisted, if you claim it's for you or it's for the other person, let us meet, let them bring their documents, they will see the way for it. But till date, nothing has been shown. And I started encountering this thing about a year ago. And anytime he's quickly able to get people to mobilize the police from the regional headquarters to come and disrupt, and they'll tell you are rather engaged in landguard activities. And I've stated times without number, but still nothing. The listing, he's getting somebody to support him. And I really don't know how to go about it because I'm a bit confused because I believe there are people at the top supporting them. That's why they keep on doing what they do. Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you very much. Nanaja would get to deal with that. Lawyer Kwame Gyan is here. You can also join us on 0302-216541 and then 05511119997. Kojo is in Odoko. Kojo, good morning.
Good morning, Winston. How are you?
I'm fine, Kojo. How about you?
Yes, I have an issue. Mine has to do with registration. I bought a piece of land that's about 10.5 acres in Tichamati.
Okay.
Right. There's an official. It falls under Eastern region. And my documents has been with one official there since 2004.
Wow.
And I really need assistance. I've gone to all lengths, but I've had a lot of challenges. If maybe I could talk to you off air.
Okay. Yeah, you could talk to the producer and then they'll pick it up from there. Thank you very much, Kojo in Odoko. Joseph in Tema will be our final caller for now. Joseph, good morning.
Yeah, go on, sir. I hope you're doing well.
I'm fine. I hope you're fine too.
By the grace of God.
Great.
Yeah, I think you've gotten the right person at the right time, enlighten us on this issue. I have a lot of questions to ask, but let me put it down to you.
Okay.
Is it lawful?
And kindly speak up for us, Joseph. We can hardly hear you.
You say?
Kindly speak up a little bit. We can hardly hear you.
Okay. I am asking that, is it lawful for a landowner to seek for a land guard to take care of the land? And also, what power do they have to control those lands to some level at which, even if you have a boundary with them, they intend to encroach? Also, which power do they have? Because sometimes, even if you have a place that you want to develop, don't mind come invade your area, preventing you from, building something on your land. If the land commission has, secured all the necessary documents for you to do something on your land, how come does this? Do these guys come? These guys will come and stop you from doing something on it. You need a lot of clarification.
I get what you're trying to say. Thank you very much, Joseph. And you'll be our final caller for now. We'll get lawyer Kwame Gyan to address these concerns, and then we'll come back to the phone lines. Yes.
Winston, I will start with Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
He asked what authority would anybody have for coming to interfere with his land.
Yeah.
And he asked about what he is asking about takes you to Section 39 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act. Section 39 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act at 29 talks about circumstances under which you can use force to protect your property. But it specifically says it is the person in actual possession of the land is the one who has justification to use force to protect the land. The person in actual possession.
Okay.
It means if somebody brought you on the land with a gun, you pass as a landguard. Because the one who has a justification for wielding a weapon to use force to protect their land is the person in actual possession.
So that's the landowner.
Yes.
Can the landowner bring another person?
It will create problems for you because then it becomes a matter of interpretation. The law specifically says the person in actual possession. If the law wanted to provide room for others to act on behalf of that person, the law would have said so.
Okay.
The law would have then added, or another person duly authorized by him.
Okay.
You see, so it's not easy to be carrying weapons around land. And because of Section 12 of the Land Act, those people who walk around, they have no authority to go around and harass people. The unfortunate thing is, Winston, the Lands Commission is also very far away from the people.
Sure.
Look, in 20 2008 when we passed the Lands Commission Act 767, which is the law that brought together the land sector agencies under one umbrella. We made provision in that law for the Lands Commission to be able to establish district offices.
Okay.
So, for example, why is the Lands Commission not in a place like Kasua having a district office in Amasaman, where they can collaborate effectively and more closely with the police and other law enforcement, national security? I mean, but if the Lands Commission is at 37 and the land is at Adan, Dodowa, they all have to come to Lands Commission at 37.
Yeah.
Ashaman, they have to come to 37 because there is an office in Tema, but they only do titling, small facility for land titling. So we need to do something to bring land services close to the people, so that at least you can walk to a Lands Commission office and complain that, look, I am on my land. Some people came there this morning. I have your documents registered by you. What can I do? But the man is talking about somewhere Fienya. Lands Commission is in 37. By the time you get a bus to 37 to come and complain, the people have laid some 200 blocks already.
And you join a long queue because others have also come to complain. That's actually the problem.
A long queue. So Lands Commission should take advantage of the law, which allows them to set up district offices and bring the service they render close to the people.
Okay.
Now,
yes, Kojo. I think Kojo is talking about 10 acres at Tichamante.
Kojo's land at Tichamante.
Yeah.
You would even have more complicated problems. Tichamante is Achimabuakwa land.
Okay.
Tichamante is Achimabuakwa land, which some years back part had been traded to settlers from the Chiripon areas, Anum and so on.
Okay.
So there is some tussle on ownership in that area between the Achims and the settlers. What I don't know is, did he get his land from the Achims or he got his land from the settlers? Because there is some contention between the settlers and the Achims as to the scope, the range of the rights that the settlers got, and whether the settlers can transfer lands without the consent of the Achimabokwas too.
Okay.
You know, because the contention is about the residual rights of the Achimabokwas too. And there is contention there. So maybe that's the reason his registration is not going through. Okay. Because that area is clean eastern region. It's not like around some areas around Ajen Kotoku where the boundary between eastern and Greater Accra in the land sector is not certain. So sometimes a piece of land is registered in the Greater Accra region by Winston, and then I will go quickly and register the same piece of land at Koforidua. I mean, but Tichamante is way off the conflict zone.
Okay.
But maybe he's been affected by the fight between the Achims and the settlers relating to the residual rights of the Achims and that one. Nana Adwoa is talking about Ayi Mensah. See, the lands on the foothills of the Akwapim, the mountains, coming Ayi Mensah, Frafraha, there is some turbulence in that area. You know, when I was talking about the peri-urban, that's a typical peri-urban interface. Because that's actually the link, the interface between the Accra and the Kwapims. Because for us, the Kwapim is quite serene neighborhood, not so.
Yeah, it is.
Now, so you see the Ayi Mensah thing now trying to push to the Peduase, the hill before Kitase.
Yes.
So that's a typical peri-urban. So if you want to conduct studies about landguards, you know that belt is a conducive study area for you. So all the things we are talking about, you encounter in that area. You know, in her particular situation, I would strongly recommend to her to petition the IGP.
Okay.
You see, unfortunately, that is what has happened. Where you are having issues with the police hierarchy, So you are having issues in Accra. There is the Greater Accra Regional Commander. He's called Dr. Drisu or something. He's a very nice chap. So I will recommend, because of what I know about his caliber, Nana Adwoa should go to the Regional Commander, Greater Accra.
Okay.
And talk to him. He's a gentleman. He knows what to do. He has handled some 2-3 matters for me. And I know what he is capable of. So he should go and talk to the Greater Accra Regional Commander. Because under normal circumstances, the men should not have been moving from the Greater Accra Command all the way to... Because Ayimensa, there is Ayimensa Police Station.
Yeah, there is.
Right there.
Yes, I've seen
and
it.
they are under Adenta Division.
Yeah.
You know, it means that the chain has gotten loosened up. The chain has gotten loosened up. And you know, that's part of the problem with law enforcement. There is Ayimensa. There is a police station right there, opposite the nice estate.
Yeah.
I think now it's not even a district command.
I should think so.
And it should be under Adenta. Because I know that Abokobi, they are all under Adenta in terms of police command. So if there is a divisional commander in Adenta, why are people coming to support a Landguard from the region?
I see. So Donaja, you have
know,
to go
and
to the
maybe one of the things the IGP should do, apart from putting the names of police people and we see in their ranks, there should be a part of their uniform that should indicate which part of the service they are coming from. If you are from Accra region, there should be some insignia who say that this man is coming from Accra region.
Okay.
Because sometimes police would come to you or your client and you see that they have no jurisdiction whatsoever in that area. And they are purporting to exercise police powers in that area without showing you the warrant. Why are you coming all the way from regional to Ayimensa? There should be some explanation.
Okay. How about Daniel? Daniel's case, he is more of a proffering a solution.
Daniel's solution, and I noted here that I agree with him. He is talking about the imprudence of land purchasers.
Yeah.
If you act as a prudent purchaser, you may avoid some of the pitfalls that we are all talking about. So I think Daniel is right. As for Kobina, you have already answered him.
Yeah.
The man on the Botiano shooting.
Okay. When we return after these messages, we'll pick our next batch of questions. 5.
Your morning radio.
Let's get back onto the phone lines. Ross from North Legon. Ross, good morning.
And good morning to your cherished listeners.
Great.
And to my very own lecturer, Mr. Kwame Gyan.
We are going through lectures this morning. Continue, Ross.
Well, I have a little situation at hand that I want my professor to clarify.
Okay.
I mean, being a lawyer, once you have your professor online, once a teacher, always a teacher. So I want the master to clarify something.
I'm privileged.
I have a challenge with the Lands Commission. I commenced registration for my property around Pantine. And then after almost a year, the Lands Commission wrote to me, requesting that they wanted to issue a provisional land title certificate. And their reason was that someone had previously in the past registered the land. But this land is the subject of, a Supreme Court judgment. So I then got back to them because I noticed they intended to treat me as an adverse possessor. And that after 12 years, they'll issue a substantive land certificate. So I said, no, I cannot accept, a provisional land title certificate. And then be on a property that anyone can come claiming ownership in, no time. So I then wrote to the Lands Commission and stated that once it is the subject of a Supreme Court judgment, I think that its action amounts to contempt of court and that, they should strictly adhere to the orders of the Supreme Court. And it's been several months since I wrote the response, and the Lands Commission has not replied. So I just wanted to clarify from my very own professor if I am on track. And
let me deal with his matter first.
Okay.
And then we can go to the others. Because his is a very technical. You see, Leonard.
Yes, my.
What from what you have just said, what you should do is the persons that won the judgment should have rather first sent the judgment undercover letter to the Lands Commission and request the Lands Commission to lapse all other entries in their records that are conflicting with the judgment.
Okay.
If you get the Lands Commission to lapse all the existing records, their system would be clean. Then they can put yours on it.
Okay.
The reason they are not giving you a final certificate, but rather want to give you a provisional certificate, is that they are going on the assumption that there's a conflict in the area.
Okay.
So you need to get them to get a clean slate. And the way you can get them in, because they were not a party to your judgment, if you just give them the judgment to plot, they will plot the judgment over the other entries. But you have to bring an action for the Lands Commission to lapse the existing records.
Okay.
They should expunge the conflicting records from their system to give way to yours to go in. Otherwise, you're going to be hanging around for the rest of your life.
Okay. All right.
Because without a court record, a court order, the Lands Commission will not make changes in the records. They will not.
Okay.
They will just plot your judgment on top of what they have.
Okay. That is understood.
Thank you. Have a good day, Leonard. Have
All
a
right,
good day.
Sir.
Great, Ross. Thank you very much. Let's go to Tema. Ken, good morning.
Good morning, Winston. Good morning to your listeners, and I'll say kudos to lawyer Kwame Gyan for the good job he's doing for some of us who don't have the opportunities. Now, my question is, lawyer, using the Kasua case as a reference where the police can't even move on to certain landguards because of their relationship or as to whether they're afraid of them and all that, what advice, or what recommendations would you give to find a solution to some of these things? Because there will still be albatross hanging around our necks, because they are just as the Kasua people have that landguard terrorizing them. When you go to the Dowenya side, there's this Makoko figure terrorizing people. When you go to East Legon, there's this other people. So these things will keep hanging around. What is the solution? All right. Even if you don't have to put it on air, you can advise the police since you are close to some of them. And then on the other hand, my other worry is that we have just a few of you guys, like lawyer Kwame Gyan in the system. Okay, some of us would wish we get your services, but Charlie, you guys are very expensive. We can't afford you. So what do we do so you can help us? Because I cry whenever I hear land issues and all that, because I've lost 12 plots in 3 years to some of these. And then Winston, please beg your producers to extend this show. If not, let's get a continuation. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ken, thank you very much. My producer is just in the studio with me, so he will take that decision and let me know. I'm sure by the end of the show we'll know whether we can extend it or not. But you can also join us on 0302-216-541 and then 055-1111997. The phone lines have been activated, and so you can join us. We'll get back to the phone lines shortly. Let me just tell you that there's good news for small to medium scale business owners, because with SME Plus, you get to manage all your operational costs in communication, and the service simply allows you to choose from affordable packages and enjoy talk time, SMS, data, and business content, all bundled in one subscription. The other exciting news is you get free on-net calls every Monday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Simply dial *5060# to sign up today. WhatsApp or call 0244308275 111 to stay connected everywhere you go. Rose from Bubuashi, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, Rose.
Yes, please. I have my land around Plekuma, around Peace Valley.
You have your land
all
around
my documents, everything. But whenever I go on the land to do something, these land guards come and tell me that the lands are belonging to them. So I should pay money, 1,000 cities, 1,005 every time. So it's confusing me. And I have my papers, everything, and they will tell me that the land belongs to them. It's for them. So if I call police, it's for nothing. If I report them, it's for nothing. So I should continue paying the money every time I go to do a work. Now I want to face my defense work. They are telling me that I should pay about 3,000 because they are allowing to use the grant. The grant belongs to them.
All right, Rose, that'll be addressed. Adjoa is at airport. Adjoa, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I called earlier on, so listening to what I don't know whether the Professor Kwame Gyan said. My lawyers did write to the petition, the IGP, and they written back, so they are trying to work on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right, Adjoa. So something is being done there. Thank you very much.
Once it gets to him, the IGU get people to work.
You get people to work. Okay, let's go to Kumasi. Nana Bonsu is listening to us on Love FM. Nana Bonsu, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am fine, Nana Bonsu. How about you?
By grace, I'm doing well.
Great. Nana Bonsu, yes.
I wanted to find out a certain perspective from a senior.
Sure.
You know, while he was talking, he said, where there are no local plans, the Lands Commission should not register, or they have the authority to say will not register.
Yeah.
Now, the perspective I want him to bring to the discussion is that if you look at also the Section 81, it speaks about the kind of interests that are registrable. And so, for instance, you may have a usufructory interest or customary law freehold interest, which by law are registrable. Now, somebody having a customary law freehold interest will not be, there ought not to be a local plan before you can have that right. It's a right that you have. And so if the law says you can register that right, can the Lands Commission say it will not allow you to register because there is no local plan? It's a right you have already. Maybe you may have had it from land from your ancestors and so on. So it's a right you have already. Now the law says you can register it. Should there be a local plan before you register it? I just want the senior to bring his perspective on that.
Okay, senior will do that for you. Let's make our final caller for now, and then we get lawyer Kwame Gyan to address the next round of issues. Kwabla is in Accra. Good morning, Kwabla.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, Kwabla.
Yes, good morning. I want to ask the lawyer that if you are a poor man with having your
Can you kindly speak up, Kwabla, so we can hear you?
Yes, I'm saying that I have a plot. And
okay.
On my adjoining land is one rich man who has one plot. And he has built on his one plot and fenced it. Now he doesn't have anywhere to put his sewage. And so the only gap between us is the rough road. And he has dug a manhole in an attempt to do his sewage.
Your call has been put.
Okay, Kwabla, we'll see. We'll see if we can.
So, let's go to Nana Bonsu.
Yes.
Nana Bonsu has introduced two terminologies that have to be explained. He says a customary law freehold or a usufruct. A usufruct is coming from the word usus fructus. And it's that interest in land which a member of a family that owns land can have, or a subject of a stool or a clan that owns the land must have. So what he is asking me is, if I am from Edriso and the land belongs to the Edriso stool, and because of that I have a plot because I am a subject of the Edriso stool, should I also be compelled to get a place that has local plans before I'll be registered? I would say yes. But the Edrisis 2 itself can register its land without a local plan.
Okay.
Because it is the Edrisis 2 that has the allodial title. You see, the Edrisis 2's title is paramount. So the Edrisis 2 will register. But if there are no local plans, the law says it should still be registered. So the big landowners will be registered without local plans. But the subdivisions of the big ones would have to comply with local plans. So as you come down, then the requirement of compliance with local plans would hit you. Okay. Because once you start doing the subdivisions, you may end up developing the land. And it should be consistent with a scheme. Otherwise, you will continue in the same way that we have continued in this country, where we always develop before we come and plan.
Yeah.
And the cost of such planning is prohibitive. You see how many buildings we demolish before we make roads?
Yeah.
We should have built the roads before the buildings.
Exactly. I see. Now, Rose, talking about digging fee. And
Rose
yes,
in Ablekuma. This is what we anticipated in Section 12 of the Land Act. The people are extorting money from her, and it is a violation of Section 12. They are also preventing her from developing. It is a violation of Section 12. Now, the people told him something which the very first message said. According to her, the people said, if you call the police, it will come to nothing. Is it not consistent with what the very first message contained about the Akwasi Alaji thing, where the people said they are afraid, so they won't do anything?
Yeah.
Yes. This is one of the reasons why we are saying that we should have some reorientation of law enforcement.
And on this particular issue, somebody sent me a message this morning and said, let me just read it for you. It says, Winston, I have a parcel of land at a place called Bulasu, just behind MF Estate, Mataiko on the Temakosombo Road. I'm currently fencing the land. Last week when I started digging, my workmen were confronted by two gentlemen on a motorbike. And their mission was to collect digging fee or right of entry fee of 2,000 cedis. I was called on the phone and I spoke to a gentleman who introduced himself as 64.
He's called 64.
Yeah, he says his name is 64. And he works for my...
and that's what is on his Ghana card.
Not at all. I told him I will not pay because no law in this country allows them to collect digging fee after they have sold the land to me. The subsequent days will see these guys constantly go to my land to harass my workmen. I had to go to the land and personally face these guys. I told them I would take every step to protect my land, including losing my life together with them if they don't stop the constant harassment. I proceeded to report these facts to the police, who assured me they were going to deal with them, but the guys continued to harass me until they sensed I was not going to be a pushover, and they've stopped coming for now. They have not showed up since Monday. Apparently, that's their modus operandi, which is to sell land to you and unleash their thugs to collect digging fee. This act, if not stopped, can lead to bloodshed since not everyone will take this. I urge the police to act swiftly when cases like this are reported to them. And he actually went to his land with a pistol.
He went with a pistol.
Yes, to the land.
But he has enormous courage, which is in short supply. But that kind of demonstration of courage is also a recipe for chaos. Not so. So if he had gone there, like he went there, and these guys had AKs. But I'm surprised he said he was willing to lose his life plus DS. Could he do both?
No, it means whoever goes.
No, but not collectively. They are all going.
Oh yes, of course.
But
so it's either he dies.
Most
or
of the time, it's the landowner who goes, not the landguards.
But on the landguard thing and the law allowing you to use force, one of your learned friends said, it says it is arguable that there can be nothing in law called a landguard, because a person by law is allowed to protect his land even with force. Caretakers are also lawful agents. Please ask lawyer Kwame what the definition of landguard is.
The Land Act itself does not define a landguard.
Okay.
And I'll tell you the reason. Use force and violence on land and you become a landguard, for me, is problematic. Because what he is saying, Article 18 of the Constitution of Ghana guarantees your right to private property.
Yeah.
That's the reason why Section 39 of Act 29 is saying that you can use force if you are the actual, the person in actual possession of the land. So mostly possession, actual possession is consistent with ownership. So it means the landowner can use force on his own land. He will not be a landguard.
But he's saying caretakers are also lawful agents.
But Section 39 does not make provision for agents and caretakers. Section 39 provides a justification for the use of force only for the person in actual possession.
Okay.
The person in actual possession. It may not be read expansively to include an agent.
Okay. We'll see. I'm sure this will come. But I think Ken had a question. He's asked the advice he gave to people who are being terrorized by Langa. He's talked about how he's lost,
he's lost
12 plots.
12 plots
in 3 years.
In 3 years.
Yes.
And for me, that's what we've been talking about over the last couple of days.
Yeah.
The level of impunity with which these people, the Moridin band, I describe them as organized criminals. The level of impunity that they are demonstrating is why somebody said he also used landguards before. So it means that if you have the funds, then you can bring a superior landguard group to protect your land.
Yeah.
But you know where that is going to lead us to?
Bloodshed.
Exactly. This is the reason we have to look at this matter now and try to deal with it. Because the man who has lost 12 plus in 3 years, he has lost his livelihoods.
Yeah.
And it's running through. Look, one of the things that we could do, one of the speakers was talking about what we should do.
Yeah.
The Lands Commission must set up a land intelligence gathering unit within the Lands Commission. You know what that unit should do?
No.
They should just profile. You know what they do about elections and election hotspots?
Yes.
They should do that for land. It will not be too complicated. They can get funding from Danida, World Bank, and get people with investigative background to just profile all the peri-urban areas around us. They should just start with the Greater Accra region and the Greater Kumasi region. Profile all the hotspots, map them out, including drone images of the location of, because you see, these landguards, they normally have a kingpin who, so if somebody is called Red at some point will not go to the bush anymore.
Yeah.
He's become the main man, and he has satellites or pockets of emissaries that go around and do the dirty work. It's not easy to start as a young landguard. So you normally have to develop your skills working in a syndicate controlled by the big man. So look for all the big men syndicates. One of the callers mentioned about 3 in Dowenya, and you remember?
Yes.
So the Lands Commission should just set up an intelligence unit and profile the hotspots. Then share this information with the IGP, because there is an anti-land guards unit in the police service.
Sure.
And there is the property fraud unit in the police service. I was one of the key people who trained the first batch of police people who were assigned to the property fraud unit. This was when Amponsan Siama and Co. were in the service. It's years back. So the police service should beef up the property fraud unit and the Lands Commission's intelligence unit plus the what is the new name for BNI?
National Investigative Bureau.
NIB,
yes.
And National Security working with Lands Commission's intelligence, police intelligence. I mean, all the system which should be brought to bear on this matter. If you collect names of Ghanaians and signatures and phone numbers of Ghanaians who have been negatively impacted by Landguard activities, you would see the percentage of the population.
Wow. Lawyer Kwame Gyan, it's been interesting having you over the past 2 days for this all-important conversation. Like the people said, it's something would have to continue. I don't know when we'll bring this issue back. Producer would inform me. I'm sure when we finish, we'll discuss that also. But thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to all of you who also called, to actually share your experience and even share with us how you believe we can deal with this.